In this video, I'll talk about why our philosophy is to avoid building for scale and instead building for systems, which allows us to make thousands per day without stressfully trying to scale. And I'll also share an AI tool we built that helps with your strategic decision making on building for systems. If you had a money machine that printed money, after some initial excitement, you probably wouldn't try to speed it up by pressing the buttons harder. Instead, you'd probably look after the internals. You'd be calibrating the rollers, you'd keep it clean, you'd run checks on it every week to make sure all the parts are still aligned. Because the buttons here aren't what make it work, it's the system. And this is how we think about scale, because everybody wants scale. But the thing is that scale is a result. It's not a lever. In that scale is more of a consequence of your actions and your processes more than it is something that you do. You don't scale by forcing growth. You scale by building something that can make progress without you forcing it. As an experiment, this store hasn't been touched since early winter. No new ads, no campaign management, no testing, and it's humming along, making thousands a day. Not from pressure, just from the system we built. It's got ads that still perform, offers that still convert, pages that still land, post-purchase upsells that are still monetizing. In its own way, this is a version of a money machine. Alternatively, most brands, and I'm speaking to my past self here, most brands try to scale by squeezing things harder, cranking on things, pushing stressful deadlines, and adding people and hope that speed and pressure solves for strategy. But brands don't scale because you chase the scale. Brands tend to scale because the internals are dialed in, similar to the internals of a money machine. Things like having clear offers and creative systems and knowing your KPIs and core numbers. Having regular cadences of inputs and outputs for different parts of your business. Processes that say, if this thing happens, then do this thing. And infrastructure that doesn't require constant pressure and monitoring. This kind of stuff that we like to build for. We like to build for systems because the machine is what makes scale possible. And here's an AI tool we built to help with your strategic thinking on how you can start building for the systems that lead to scale as a consequence. All you have to do is click Start Evaluation, and then it walks you through our evaluation framework and helps you with holding up a mirror to your business to see how robust or fragile your systems are. I think it was Einstein who said that 80% of solving a problem is defining what the problem is in the first place. And this tool helps you with doing that. As an example, I worked on it with a brand, or rather for a brand in our program. And this is what it came back to us with. And now we have some direction on where there's improvement, or rather room for improvement, and we can plan around it in the coming weeks and months, turning each zone from fragile to more robust. It shines a light on things that we should be paying attention to. For example, how you describe your current system for producing new ad creatives. And there's a range of not doing it consistently to doing it on a schedule with structure and process. There's shining a light on your offer. How would your offer perform if ad costs increased by 30%? Would it break completely, or is it protected with margin built into it? By shining a light on the different zones of where things are potentially strong and where things are fragile allows you to evaluate the inner guts of the machine that you are building for yourself. If you want to try out the tool and all of our other tools and frameworks, you can check out the first link in the description below. And what I like about this tool is that you can come back to it on a monthly basis to help with planning out priorities on where the system as a whole needs a little bit more attention. Another way to look at it is through the lens of a classic 2x2 matrix. On the x-axis here, we have low systems versus high systems. And on the y-axis, we have a low desire to scale versus a high desire to scale. In quadrant number 1 over here, we have a high desire to scale and low systems. And we characterize this as the hustler zone, where you're always chasing growth. You're likely working harder than the business is as a system. Stress is pretty high, margins are thin, and things are feeling fast. And there's a lot going on, but at the same time, it feels fragile. In the second quadrant, we have low systems coupled with a low desire for scale. So it's a little bit more chill. And we characterize this as the wanderer zone, when you drift off over here. And it's characterized by being comfortable, but also stagnant. There's no urgency because the desire for scale is low. And at the same time, there's no infrastructure. And what it looks like on the numbers side is typically the revenue is stuck and there's low momentum when it comes to trying to make change. Then in the next zone, we have high systems coupled with low desire for scale. And this one is an interesting place to be. We call it the architect because there's strong infrastructure, kind of like the person who's really good at keeping to-do lists and very organized and very prepared. The output can be high while keeping stress quite low. And the potential for scale is quite high. It's just the desire isn't there yet. But if that desire were to bubble up, the architect is prepared. And in the final quadrant, we have a high desire coupled with high systems to support that desire for scale. And we characterize this as the machine, where growth is a byproduct of structure and systems. There's a cadence and a rhythm that supports in driving compounding results. And generally in this zone, things are lower anxiety with relatively high leverage compared to the rest of the zones. This is a zone that we like to shoot for in the way that we operate, and the zone that we prioritize our actions in working towards. And if you want to try out the tool that I showed earlier that helps with shifting into that machine zone, along with all of our other AI tools and frameworks, you can check out the first link in the description below. And now that you know that building for systems is more strategic than building for scale, you should watch this video next on our approach on systems thinking when it comes to managing ads that scale.